What's up, Dragon Brood? So today we're gonna be having some fun. Actually, before we get into that, y'all that haven't seen it, check out my little short video here talking about the third chicken that has magically shown up in our backyard. Somehow, with us not even having neighbors or probably anybody in our whole section of the city here that has chickens. I don't know how, but this is the third time in just over a year, I think, that this has happened. But anyway, you can see pictures of our new lady and whatnot in that video. I just figured that'd be fun to mention if you hadn't seen it. So today what we're going to do is we're going to be looking and talking about chicken coops, because there's so many different varieties and so many ways they could be made that I think some people stop themselves believing that they can't construct a chicken coop or a chicken run in any way that would be useful or sufficient. And I can tell you from experience, you can have some very basic ones that can function very, very well. The basics though, you really just need a few things to qualify as a real chicken coop. Obviously you need 4 walls, right? It's got to be enclosed. It needs to have a roof just to keep the elements out. It also needs to be ventilated. I think that's one thing some people do forget. You need to make sure there's some way for air to get in and out, because that's just healthy. And additionally, you need nesting boxes, so your chickens have a place to sit and lay their eggs, and preferably a way to get those eggs out fairly easily without having to disrupt your nesting area on a regular basis. Beyond that, then it becomes like, do you want it off the ground or not? Do you want certain types of ramps that make it easier for the chickens to get in or out? And then you can get kind of customizable at that point. But let's just take a chance to look at some different designs and just see, how some people did great jobs and some people had basic starter coops. And we'll use ourselves as an example. Now, initially, we built a very basic one. It was just some scrap wood we found. We bought a little dog run type thing to set in the front of it to have a small run area. We also only had a couple of chickens at the time, so this was plenty of space for them. And then we built a roof actually out of just some plastic sheeting. So it was mostly vented across the top so air could get in and out, but also blocked out the elements. And then it had an opening in the front for them to get in and out. Compartment in the back that we could lift up to get at the eggs, so the nesting boxes were tucked toward the back, so we didn't have to get inside and move things around to get the eggs out. It wasn't real flashy, but the chickens were happy and it functioned and did what we needed it to. It was small, so it was very easy to clean, and that was a benefit for us. Now, like I've mentioned before in previous videos, we did have a raptor, a Harris hawk that we had for several years that kind of occupied the other space that we built. Well, once we moved the raptor on to a new owner, we kind of had this empty space and we said, well, if we want more chickens, why don't we move them over here and we'll just make some concessions to turn this into a workable area for the chickens. So what we did is, since our run was connected to our shed already was cut into compartments internally. So it made it very easy to just cut out a wall. So we actually have just like a window opening that functions greatly. We built the sliders, so during the winter months or during bad weather, if we need to keep them inside and keep them from getting out, we can actually keep it ventilated still and let them in and out easily, or just lock them in as necessary. Then we have some nesting boxes that are pretty basic. They're just milk crates that we keep padded with fresh hay, and the chickens use them reliably and regularly. So nothing super flashy there. There's a couple of perches, which I guess I should have added that to the list as well. You need perches for your chickens to sit on. They love that. So we have 2 different long perches that they can sit on, which function perfectly for them. And then we have a bunch of hay that we just rotate in and out. Usually when we rotate it out, we dump all that hay on the outside and then put the fresh hay inside, and then that just gets kind of recycled into the dirt and stuff outside. It's actually a pretty simple system, but it works very well for us. They do get a little bit of extra shading because the vines that grow over from the blackberry bushes kind of shade them as well. So like I said, nothing flashy. It didn't cost us a whole lot of money. Our ramps are built out of scrap wood. We will probably upgrade here in the next year or so, but for now, everything we have functions very well and our chickens are healthy. So you don't need anything too crazy flashy. Now this one we have is actually a completely different look than some that I've seen. This is built almost out of like the regular, I guess we'll call that slat wood fencing. And it actually works. This is one that, like, another example that this is stuff you can just pick up anywhere. A lot of times you'll find people getting rid of this stuff on Craigslist just for free that you can pick up. And it even has a little garden area around the outside. So they found a way to kind of work in the terrain and stuff around it, and a little sitting area so you can sit next to the chickens and you know, just be close to them. So this is actually pretty cool. I think some people would look in this and go like, oh, that's so simple and so awkward, but truthfully it actually fills all the needs. You know, it has a nice area, it's protected, it has a roof, it's, you know, there's not a lot to complain about. The only thing I would say is it looks like the actual coop area might need better ventilation, but other than that, it looks like it's accessible, easy to deal with. I can't see the inside, so I can't really say anything about the purchase, but this is one that I like from a simplistic standpoint that still checks the boxes. Now this one I also give credit to because it's very well done, very clean, very simple. But it also only has to house, I believe, 2 or 3 chickens, the owner said, so you don't have to have them be really large. This also shows that you can put these in smaller spaces. When you're only talking about a couple of chickens, you don't need a whole lot of room. I mean, hopefully they get to get out in the yard every once in a while, but otherwise, this is a totally fine space. That's plenty of living quarters and everything looks nice and simple. I wouldn't really worry about this too much. I know some people kind of have that other issue of they expect like, oh, I need to have this huge space. And it's like, well, you really don't if it's just a couple of chickens, like I showed with our first one. But as we expanded to 5 chickens, then 6, we needed more room. Now this one feels like this was another kind of just personal project piece, which is nice. I think it's cool that it has cute little colors, something a bit different than I think people would consider going with. And you can see the chickens actually eating and nesting down below, it looks like, which is really nice. My only concern is I would generally like to have something where the chickens aren't on the ground, or have a way to get away a little bit easier. It looks like there is a cross perch there in the middle, which is kind of nice. But yeah, it's well ventilated. Obviously it's using chicken wire all the way around it, which is nice. Looks like it's covered very well. And the nesting boxes here are another good example of, these are just those ones that fit in those like 12-inch by 12-inch shelves, those little pull-out drawers, I guess we'll call them, the baskets. And those look like they'll function quite well. Nothing really to worry about there. Looks like you also have some good ventilation there on the side where the coops are. So yeah, this is another one I think is very simple. Looked like it was probably someone's multi-day project, maybe nothing really long, but it actually really checks all the boxes. Now this one is the one I would say is probably the nicest of the ones we had submitted. This is somebody who took a lot of time as far as the construction and thought processes and everything that went into their chicken coop. I'm a big fan of this one actually. It's got a nice slant roof, you know, so you're not worried about anything just building up on top, which is nice. It's got large windows in it, so this is going to be really cool for letting in a lot of light. It's going to be neat for just the chickens to feel comfortable at all times. You can also look in and see your chickens, which is very cool, because I think that's something that I do catch myself with our setup, having to like peek in the window sometimes when I want to make sure everything's okay and do a head count or whatever. Something like this is also really nice when you can just see them, which I like. I don't know how that plays with, you know, let's say you live in an area that you have some predators. That could be a problem as far as them being able to see the chickens and be enticed to go after them. But otherwise, I think that's a very cool idea. Also, as you can see here, they got their dog to test it, and the dog seems to like it. But more importantly, there's some really good ventilation and feeder setups in here as well. So I really dig that aspect of what they have going on too. This looks like it's very well constructed. It's very clean, and it's probably not housing a lot of chickens, but that is okay. I think this is another one for like a mid-sized flock of maybe 4 or 5 probably are going to do okay with this. And it looks like they have easy access in and out as well. Now, another thing you may not know about me, actually most of you probably don't because we're new here. I actually play a little bit of disc golf, and it's probably something I'll cover here on the channel as well at some point because it is an outdoorsy thing. But this is really cool because one of the things about disc golf that's fun, and I kind of want to just throw this in here for people who don't know, is that they actually build courses in a lot of just land that's no longer under use, or that cities are looking for a new use for, instead of just having it sit there and be something productive for their communities. Well, a friend of mine who's also a content creator, he submitted this one that he played on. This particular hole is built on, it looks like a farm or a ranch that had a industrial chicken coop that they actually built a disc golf hole across, which is very cool. So just take a look at this. This is really neat. I mean, you're looking all the way down this thing. You see the tee pads, the tee sign there, the basket's at the far opposite end. But this is actually a cool spot to have a disc golf basket. And truthfully, you know, I tell people that our chickens are still livestock to a large degree, but they do still need to be treated correctly and reasonably. You know, so if we can see decommissioned industrial complexes like that get used for something better, I am all in favor of it. You know, sure, just because you're going to have your animal as a meal or something down the road doesn't mean their life has to be awful along the way. Yeah, I just wanted to show some different things that were going on in the world that were a little bit positive, you know, and I think it's just cool how many people are into raising chickens, how many people are now interested because I put the channel up, which is kind of fun. But just seeing all the different chicken coops, I think I just wanted to let people know that if you're thinking about starting, you don't need this huge fantastical design. You don't need a bunch of engineering put into it. You can go with something very basic and it can really function well. And you could go as over the top as you want. I've seen some pretty crazy ones. You know, you can also just buy chicken coops. There's a lot of like farm supply stores and whatnot that do have chicken coops you can just walk in and purchase, and then you just assemble them when you get home. So there's a lot of different ways you can go about housing your birds, but don't let it be intimidating. I mean, there's a lot of options and they're all viable. Remember, if you haven't, please like this video, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, because that's gonna let you know every time I have a video up. And if you haven't checked it out, hit up our links down below in the description, because I actually have some merchandise that you can get a cool PowrDragn outdoor shirt and support the channel, get a little something for yourself. But that's all I have for you for now. We'll see you next time.